Sarah doesn't show up, then I'll just take that spot.
And then-
No, but I'm pretty sure she said she was gonna make it.
I
back
know
to
the, I'll reach out to the site contractor that they were.
How'd you work this new camera angle where
Because I
we're
know
all
they
off
pretty
screen? I
well
love
got
it.
what I-
Brilliant. Wouldn't work.
Scott McCack.
I
And
thought
I'll
It doesn't
see
work.
for purposes of the public hearing,
Yeah.
we should
That
probably
we go,
have the,
David.
have the,
Have the public,
Everybody's got to be
Camera.
on the camera.
Yep, yep.
And they like, you know, they have this.
the board,
Oh, yeah, they were.
Or all of
gung-ho.
or the public
They were
speakers.
gung-ho. They were gonna
Public
hit it.
or us.
Taking this
No, the
one,
public,
yeah.
Sexual harassment.
Taking
Well,
this one.
but I would
Let's take
think
a
that
look
they
at
were
the
the
scenarios.
important.
No.
What are the mask mandates for?
Mask
Government.
mandate, the CDC mask mandate is if you're vaccinated or you feel, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear one.
Mhm.
If you're nervous or unvaccinated, you have to wear one.
But if you're not nervous, and you're not vaccinated. It's like, wherever,
No, I thought,
you're vaccinated, I'm not worried about it.
but,
I am going to, let's see,
I thought Kathy had put out some new stuff.
she didn't, but I have the CDC guidelines.
No, but I mean, I thought New York State had.
No,
I was just curious what they were, so not that I'm saying anything, I just.
Lizzie had to wear a mask at daycare.
all right, I'm assuming that Sarah is on her way because I know that she was trying to get here. But it is 7 o'clock. I don't have any message.
One person.
Okay, well, I think we should start. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. Let's stand for the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are going to begin tonight with the first of 3 public hearings. And the first one is the zoning review. Taylor and Frank, do you want to, do you have any comments to make before we? Frank, you're muted.
Okay, thank you. I think the first order of business may be, and I defer to Warren here, but I think you might want to close or first make sure that there's no other speakers. We left the hearing open on the zoning. So I think if there's anyone else who wants to speak, you should hear them, but otherwise you could close the hearing. Then once you close it, I could then go into the part 2 of the EAF.
Okay, is there anyone here who'd like to make a comment on the zoning review? I don't believe there is, so we will close the public hearing on the zoning review.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then Dara, the next thing, we just wanted, Taylor sent to you, and I think you've given it to all of the board so that they would see it, what's called a part 2 of the EAF, and it's sort of, the cover looks something like this. It's got a green cover and it's got a mountainside. And
Yeah.
yeah, that part 2, I just wanted you to know that what seeker suggests is that you use something that is in writing to just help you determine the impacts in what's called part 3, which would be the next item on the agenda, so that it helps you make your determination of significance under seeker. And we filled this out and took our best estimate of each of the questions. But as you know, we have filled out an answer to the questions no. that there's not a significant, we don't find any significant adverse impacts, no large impacts that we saw. And the real reason is we're not into any increases, significant increase in density. We're not changing any major uses. So these are mostly about, the whole zoning code text changes are mostly about creating a few variances, if I could say, before your zoning board of appeals, and making it a little bit easier for people to upgrade their existing buildings and conform to the zoning code. So I think it has mostly beneficial impacts. So you can see here, impact on land. We check no, in the same way, geological features, surface water, groundwater, flooding. We don't think there's impacts on those for these zoning text changes. And certainly they're consistent with the comprehensive plan at the end. And also impacts on public health. There are no significant adverse impacts to this. So that's what we did in going through part 2. But you know, I hope that you all had a chance to take a look at it. If there's any questions on it, Taylor and I could address those.
I have none.
None?
Yeah, then that's great. If there are none, then I think you could then move to the other document. And the other document, in a similar manner, has a little cover on it, a little green. It says part 3. And what this is the state form for a negative declaration. That is, what a negative declaration says is that no, there are no significant adverse impacts to this action. And therefore, if you make this negative declaration part 3, and Dara, if the board made that tonight, you would then have to just sign the part 3.
Okay.
But if you make that, then that frees you up as the town board to actually act on the zoning and to turn to the resolutions that Warren has prepared. So I think, again, if there's any questions on it, I think basically most of the impacts of doing this are beneficial to property owners. And I don't see any significant adverse impacts.
Any questions, anybody? I think we're good.
Then you would need a motion, I think, or I'd suggest a motion to make a negative declaration under seeker for this action.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Second by Matt, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, terrific. Then I might turn this to Warren, because I think he's prepared the resolution for the zoning text changes themselves.
Okay, so basically you have before you a resolution adopting local law number A. We'll give it a number as soon as it's passed, entitled, excuse me, my throat's a little sore, so you have to bear with me. Entitled, a local law amending certain portions of chapter 275 and other sections of the town code relating to zoning. So I think they probably just pretty short, 3 pages. I'll read it if you want. Whereas the town of Pine Plains zoning law was adopted by local law number 2 of 2009 in October of 2009, and has been amended in certain respects pursuant to local law number 2 of 2015, local law number 3 of 2015, and local law number 1 of 2017. And whereas the zoning law has now been codified as chapter 275 of the town code, and whereas the town board has recently adopted an amendment to its comprehensive plan and appointed a zoning review committee to work with BFJ Planning to adopt a series of targeted text changes in the town code to address issues which have been identified as required amendments, corrections, or changes since the zoning code was created in 2009. And whereas the zoning review committee, in conjunction with BFJ Planning, have recommended a series of targeted text changes to the town code and other sections of the town code which have been reviewed by the attorney to the town. whereas the attorney to the town has prepared a proposed local law amending certain portions of Chapter 275 of the Town Code and other sections of the code relating to zoning. And whereas the town board has determined that this is a type 1 action requiring preparation of a full environmental assessment form, and further that the town board is the only involved agency in this action. And whereas BFJ Planning prepared a part 1 of the full EAF in conjunction with this local law, and the same has been reviewed by the attorney to the town and now the town board, and has been determined to be acceptable in form and content. And whereas the town board has reviewed the proposed local law and has found it to be acceptable in form and content for purposes commencing the local law adoption process. Whereas the town board declared itself to be lead agency for the purposes of the environmental review of this local law. And whereas the town board accepted part 1 of the full environmental assessment form as prepared by BFJ Planning. And whereas the town board scheduled a public hearing on the adoption of said local law on August 19th, I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct. And 2021. And whereas the town clerk was directed to publish and post notice of said public hearing and provide notice to adjoining municipalities as required by law of the proposed public hearing. And whereas the town board directed the town clerk to forward a copy of the proposed local law together with a part 1 of the full environmental assessment form to Dutchess County Planning and Development for its review and comment in accordance with the requirements of Section 239M of the General Municipal Law. And whereas the town board directed the town clerk to forward a copy of said proposed local law together with the part 1 of the full EAF to the Pine Plains Planning Board for its review and comment in accordance with the requirements of the town code. And whereas the town board, based upon comments and input received from Dutchess County Department of Planning and its own internal review of the local law, directed the attorney to make certain changes to the proposed law, which were incorporated into a revised proposed law and placed on the desks of the town board on August 19th, 2021. And whereas the public hearing on said local law was kept open and continued until September 16th, 2021 at 7:05 p.m. And whereas the public hearing was opened, it should be opened, EN, typo, just a moment, on September 16th, 2021, at which time the public was permitted to further comment on the said local law. And whereas the town board on September 16th, 2021 closed the public hearing and reviewed part 2 and parts 3 of the full environmental assessment form, which had been prepared by the town, for the town by the town's consultant planners. And after review of the same, determined that this action does not have the potential for any significant environmental impacts, and that as a result, no draft environmental impact statement would be required. And whereas the town board has determined that the adoption of the proposed local law in the present form would be in the best interest of the town of Pine Plains and its residents, now therefore be it resolved, the town board hereby adopts local law number A of the year 2021, entitled the local law amending certain portions of Chapter 275 and other sections of the town code relating to zoning. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to file a copy of the local law with the Department of State as required by law. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to file a copy of the negative seeker declaration as required by DEC rules and regulations in the environmental notice bulletin in the matter provided by law. And whereas the question, now you can ask for somebody to introduce the resolution and second it, and then you can have a vote on
All right, thank you for reading that.
it.
I'd like to move that we adopt this resolution adopting local law number A of the year 2021, entitled local law amending certain portions of Chapter 275 and other sections of the town code relating to zoning.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have to do a roll
Roll
call,
call.
right? Okay.
Supervisor Cloud?
Aye.
Councilman Bartles?
Aye.
Councilman Chase?
Aye.
Councilman Zick?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Dara, if I
Yep.
just ask you briefly, I sent an email to you then and to Warren that we'll be prepared in the next few weeks to move on to an just a part 1 environmental assessment for the map changes that the town
Right.
board would want, we hope will want to consider. They were all recommended, of course, by the advisory committee, the zoning advisory committee. And so we can get that to you, we hope, in a couple of weeks. And then once that, once you're able to review that, we should have a discussion of it perhaps in October, and it would allow you eventually to have a public hearing when you want, probably, late November, early December, or something like that.
Okay, great.
Great.
For the map changes. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll be taking the recommendations that we've received from our consultant planners and from the zoning review commission, and reviewing the part 1 of the EAF, and I will work with our planners to format that into a local law. Okay, it'll be a little bit more complex than this local law because it involves zoning changes, and the process may take a little bit longer. It's a little bit more complicated, but I'm sure we can move forward with it and get it passed expeditiously.
Sounds really great. I want to thank you for being so great to work with, and I'm really proud of this work. We started the process towards this in 2018, when we actually got a grant to do the comprehensive plan update. And then we pulled together the committee, and we met you, and I'm proud of that work. I think we're really on the way to some really significant changes here. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
See you guys soon.
Bye-bye.
I'll stay on.
Okay, good. Don't leave us, Warren.
No, I'm not leaving.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Wonderful. Phew. All right, on to the next public hearing. It's a big night here. This is a public hearing. Resolution adopting local law number of the year 2021 titled local law opting out of allowing on-site cannabis consumption sites as authorized under New York State Cannabis Law Article 4. Warren, should I read this?
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, go ahead, read that. That might make
Okay.
more sense. Yes.
Okay, this is very complex, so listen carefully. Whereas on March 31st, 2021, Governor Andrew Cuomo signed the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, legalizing adult use cannabis, also known as marijuana or recreational marijuana, in New York State. The legislation creates a new Office of Cannabis Management, the OCM, governed by a Cannabis Control Board to oversee and implement the law, collectively referred to as OCM. The OCM will issue licenses and develop regulations outlining how and when business can participate in the new industry. The OCM will also oversee the state's existing medical marijuana program and cannabinoid hemp program, previously regulated by the Department of Health. And whereas New York state law provides that towns can opt out of allowing adult use cannabis retail dispensaries and or on-site consumption facilities from locating within their jurisdiction, but to do so, the municipality must pass a local law by December 31st, 2021. And if the town fails to do so, the town will be unable to opt out at a future date. And whereas the Town of Pine Plains Town Board has determined that it is in the best interest of the Town of Pine Plains to opt out of on-site consumption facilities, cannabis lounges, within its jurisdiction. And whereas this opt-out determination does not prohibit the consumption and possession of cannabis by individuals or production and distribution, as these elements are regulated by New York state law. And whereas whatever action the town takes, the legislation of the town will not constitute support or endorsement of marijuana use within the town, in that such activities are strictly regulated by New York state law. And whereas this opt-out determination, while prohibiting on-site consumption facilities, does not prevent the town from opting in to allow such facilities at a later date. And whereas the town board has studied the issues and the proposed local law with the assistance of the town attorney and input from the town planning consultant, and have determined that the proposed local law is in the best interest of the town of Pine Plains. And whereas the town attorney has drafted a proposed local law, And whereas the town board has determined to move forward with the adoption of said proposed local law with full reservation of rights as a legislative act of the town board. And whereas the town board has determined that this is an unlisted action under SECRA, however, because there are no other involved agencies. The town board shall serve as lead agency for the SECRA review of this action and shall prepare the appropriate SECRA documentation and analysis. And whereas the town board determined that the local law is acceptable for purposes of undertaking the local law adoption process, including but not limited to preparing the appropriate SECRA material, making the requisite referrals, and hearing from the public and other interested parties. And whereas by resolution dated August 9th, 2021, town board accepted the said local law and scheduled a public hearing on said local law for September 16th, 2021 at 7:25 p.m. And whereas the town board duly opened the public hearing on September 16th, 2021 and took testimony from the public and closed the public hearing on that date. And whereas the town board on September 16th, 2021 reviewed part 2 of the full environmental assessment form and determined that this action did not have the potential for any significant environmental impacts, and that as a result, a draft environmental impact statement need not be prepared. And whereas the town board's determined that it is in the best interest of the citizens of the town of Pine Plains to opt out of the state law allowing cannabis retail dispensaries. No, that's an error, I think.
That should read,
It should read lounges or on-site consumption for this one.
No, the first one I think is the retail. The second one is the on-site.
No,
Oh,
just
oh,
about
you
this,
started with the on-site consumption?
I did,
Yeah,
Okay, yes. Okay, so it should read that. So,
allowing
sorry.
on-site consumption, how's that?
Okay, sorry.
Okay. As authorized under New York State Cannabis Law, Article 4. So I'm gonna stop there so that we can open the public hearing to comment.
yes.
Okay, so this is on-site consumption, like a lounge or like a hot bar. It's about the best way I can describe it. Any comments? Any discussion?
I mean, I'm not for the lounges. I don't think you should sit there and smoke it.
Are we going to have a 30-day? Warren, do we have to have a 30-day open
No.
period after the public hearing?
No, what we do is, if you close the public hearing, which I think you can do now on this local law, why don't you make a motion to close the public hearing since there were no comments?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And let me just quickly do the environmental review, and I'll do it for both local laws. It actually was questionable to me whether this is a even enlisted action. It may even be a type 2 action, not subject to environmental review. But to err on the side of caution, I did declare it to be a unlisted action and prepared a part 1 and a part 2 of the environmental assessment form for both local laws, and took the liberty in a similar fashion to our consultant planners on the last law of answering all the questions in the negative, that the adoption of this local law would not have any potential for significant environmental impacts, which required the preparation of a draft environmental impact statement. So basically, we've done the same thing for both local laws. And if the board agrees with the seeker analysis, if we can just have a motion to adopt the part 3, declaring that this, what we call a negative declaration for both laws, that these laws will not have the potential for any significant environmental impacts.
I have a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're done with the environmental review for the first local law on the lounges. I think you're ready to take a vote on that local law. Just want to remind everybody that if you pass the local law that we prepared and amended tonight, you'll be opting out of allowing lounges, marijuana or cannabis lounges in the town of Pine Plains. This is not an irrevocable decision. The board can change course at any time it wants thereafter and opt in. And the opt-in process is actually rather simple. We would just, if you pass this local law, we would then rescind it and you can opt in. If you opt in on either of the two laws, the lounges or the retail sales, the town will have to, at some future point in the next year or two, adopt amendments to its code regulating those uses within the town, because we don't have anything in our zoning code to regulate either marijuana lounges or retail dispensaries.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
About that, so that means we have about 2 years to regulate if we opt in to.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a strict time period, but we have, I believe you can opt in at any time. I don't think there's a 2-year time period. You could theoretically opt in on January 2nd of next year, if you like. All I'm saying though is that if you do opt in, or if you decide not to opt out, we will have to work on regulations either for the lounges or for the retail.
When you say that,
some
Warren,
future-
you just mean our zoning regulations, how we're zoning it? Correct.
Correct, exactly.
Just the
Yeah.
zoning.
Yeah.
That's a lot more time than I assumed.
All right.
But we might want to move, should we not opt out for dispensaries? We might not want to wait 2 years.
Correct.
Yeah.
No.
we don't want to.
No,
No,
if
we
you-
have to get going.
if you don't opt out and if you opt in on the dispensary, and the way to not opt out on obviously the dispensary law, which is identical to this one, except we substitute dispensary for lounges, then we would really have to start moving. I would recommend early next year on working on changes to our code. I wouldn't want to wait and be shorthanded if in the event we start getting applications for licenses. We really have to start working on that as soon as possible.
Great, okay. That's good to know. So now we should call a vote on-site consumption.
Correct.
Do we need a motion? I make a motion that we opt out for on-site.
So the motion would be to adopt the local law as I prepared it and we amended tonight.
See, I make a motion that we adopt the local law and the amendments that Warren provided us.
Second?
We have to do a roll call.
Yes, roll call.
Supervisor Cloud,
Aye.
Councilman Bartle.
Aye.
Councilman Chase,
Aye.
Councilman Zick.
Aye.
All
Now,
right,
if I can just move on, if you don't mind, Dara, I'll move on to the second local law, which is identical to this. You don't have to read it, except that it makes reference to on-site to retail establishments.
Yeah.
And we've already done the environmental review. If you want to allow it in the town, then you would be voting no on this resolution. If you want to opt out and not allow it, at least for the time being, you would be voting yes to pass the resolution.
okay, that's where it gets a little confusing. That's great. Is there any comment on the town allowing dispensaries? All right, I'm gonna close the public hearing on that law.
I would move, we close that public
Okay.
hearing.
Second, I'll second, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there any discussion?
I think it's a great opportunity for our town. With tax revenue, you need smaller businesses. If you ever go to Great Barrington, every plate in the parking lot is a New York State plate, so they're getting there somehow, so why not make it closer?
I think I'm in accord with Matt there too. I know we've talked about it a bit, but it's not something that I'm afraid of. I think I understand what it is, whereas the lounges seem sort of vague and I don't understand how it would be executed. I think I'll be a no vote on adopting this local law.
Huh?
I also am a no vote. I'm a person who would be eligible for a medical marijuana prescription or such. And so I feel I'd be a little bit hypocritical if I went to Kingston to get what I needed or to Barrington and instead no in Pine Plains.
Shop local.
Shop local.
I feel that I'm a no also. I feel that we would possibly lose out altogether on getting one if we waited too long. Based on some research I did into, I asked the question, what happens if we wait? Like the process for choosing who gets a license is gonna start really soon. So that the people who opt in are going to be first in line for those licenses with towns. And the ones who opt out will be second in line, and that will be a long process. But regulations are 90% written. It could be 2 to 8 weeks before they're released. The committee is now being formed, so the regulations will be basically voted in after the comment period. Then the towns that opted in from the beginning will be put into the first round. Ernst and Young will audit them, and there will be a first round of lawsuits by companies that didn't get awarded licenses. Dispensary, I like you like that. Dispensaries will likely still be able to move forward while this is happening because New York needs the taxes. 2 years at a minimum of law proceedings. This is happening in Maine and Virginia right now. Then it will be a swath of census tracking, revenue tracking, et cetera, which will take time to look at the gaps. That could take years. Best case scenario is 2 years, worst is 7. And then the opt-out begins after that. That's when the opt-out licenses are looked at. So I think it's prudent to opt in. So I should call a vote.
The vote would be, just to remind you, that if you vote no on this resolution, then we are essentially opting in on retail dispensaries in the town of Pine Plains. Just one reminder on the other vote, that vote doesn't become effective until 45 days after tonight. It is subject to a permissive referendum. So if for some reason we receive a petition calling for a permissive referendum on the first resolution, then we would have to figure out how to hold a permissive referendum, an actual election prior to December 31st, which will be no mean feat, but we'll see.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I would like to call a vote on this resolution entitled "A Local Law Opting Out of Allowing Cannabis Retail Dispensaries as Authorized under New York State Cannabis Law, Article 4.
I second. If I have to second it, I don't know.
And we'll do a roll call.
Supervisor Cloud,
Nay.
Councilman Bartles.
No.
Councilman Chase,
No.
Councilman Zick.
No.
Resolution is not
Okay,
passed.
you are done. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
No, we're not done.
Well, you're done on the marijuana. Just,
Right.
I don't know, as a point of information,
It's a zoning law.
I don't know what the other municipalities have done, but I think Northeast opted out on both. Rhinebeck opted out on both. And Hyde Park will have their vote on Monday. It's the ones I'm familiar with. I don't know what's happening on our Myland and Ankrum and the adjoining municipalities, but
I did look up how many towns in New York State had opted in so far, and there are 42
really, oh,
as of the beginning of this week.
right. Okay, so if you don't mind, unless you have something else for me, I have a holiday tonight. So it's Yom Kippur, so I'd like to join my family if you don't mind. And
I have one fast
sure.
question to ask you, and then, so I'm skipping over to recreation for a second, Warren. I believe,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we want to fundraise for the new playground.
Okay,
So the question is, how can we purchase the playground at a moment when it's on sale. If we don't have the full amount yet raised, is that possible?
You shouldn't make how much are we talking about?
We're talking about $80,000
Yeah.
that we have to raise.
No, well, how much is the total cost of the playground? Is that-
It's about 150.
So part of that will be out of our
My grant.
unexpended fund, a grant.
Yeah,
The problem is that once you contract for the playground, you're contractually obligated to pay for it.
Yeah.
So if we don't have the money, we're gonna have to find the money to pay for the contract when we sign that. So you can either wait until we have the money, or probably, and this I would want you to consult with our accountant.
Okay.
We probably have enough money in our unexpended fund balance.
Yeah.
Or maybe our recreation. Do we have money in our recreation fund?
$90.
$90, wow.
Yeah.
I guess we can use that. But,
That is the account that I set up to receive the money.
so we can probably work out something where we take the money from the unexpended fund balance and then pay it back to the town through the contributions. But I would want to review that with Michael Torsius before we
Okay.
make any decisions.
All
But we
right.
should never sign a contract to purchase anything unless we have the money to pay for it.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I don't have anything else for Warren, do you?
No.
Thank you so much.
Okay, enjoy. Have a nice weekend, everybody. Keep
Okay.
safe.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
Thank you.
That was
You're
nice.
welcome.
All right, that was a lot of work and and we're only at the approval of the minutes and the town clerk report.
I have the approval of the town clerk's August report and the acceptance of the August 16th workshop minutes and the August 19th town board minutes.
Barring any amendments, I'd move we'd accept both of those as you've provided them.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. Did you see our summer camp fees?
I saw the bus bill.
The bus bill, yes, that's sad.
There's 19 trips.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It may not, she's questioning whether it's worth it, but.
Well, yeah, this is,
Yeah,
it seems to be a big part of the camp program.
yeah. Well, that's the middle school because we have one of the only camps around that
Mhm.
deals with middle school kids. They don't have, they're in that in-between age of, we still need something for that kid to do.
Right.
Yeah, so that's been the kind of moral dilemma of it. All right. Approval of the bills.
General bill number 18694 through 18717, highway bills number 18718 through 18734, and water district bill number 3067.
I make a motion, we approve the paying of the bills.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Great, thank you. Okay, my statement. This past month, we got word that we've been awarded $110,000 in grants for the following things. All abilities wheelchairs for use at the beach and on our trails, district formation for a possible sewer district, and $70,000 towards the purchase of an all abilities playground. The last piece of that was written with the help of Jen Blackburn and Stephanie Rhodes, and I want to thank them for their hard work on this, as well as congratulate them. We will have to raise the remaining now $80,000 for the playground ourselves and have the recreation account all set up for this. Donations can be written to the town of Pine Plains, and in the memo, please put playground. We need everyone's help to make this happen for our kids. No amount is too small or inconsequential, and bring your money to Madeline. We worked very hard getting out the word on a complex logic for the marijuana laws. I don't even have to talk about that anymore. Our broadband committee, together with town supervisors from Stanford and Northeast, are meeting in person with the county's consulting firm on broadband and Commissioner Dana Smith next Monday to hopefully get our build out rolling in some form. They have hired, with their ARPA money, they hired a consultant. The problem for us with that is that we already did our own consulting work. We created maps of our own, our committee. So I pointed that out to the county and they said, oh, we better come up and talk to you. So I called up Stanford, I called up Northeast, I called Milan, and they're gonna join us. Because the thought might be that we could apply en masse for a grant to finish building out Northeast Dutchess. They did that in Columbia County. 4 towns got together and got a grant from the feds to do that. So that's what we're gonna try to do. Town cleanup day is this Saturday, starting at 8 a.m. And before I get into that, I just, this afternoon, got a call from the county. They're appointing me to their affordable housing committee. So I'm very excited to be part of that. I think that'll be amazing. And they're putting together a consortium of people from all over the county of many different skill sets to be on it. So town cleanup day is this Saturday, starting at 8 a.m. We have volunteers helping seniors and those unable to get their junk to the dumpsters at the highway department. And once again, Lenny Liberta is donating the dumpsters and drivers to the town for the event. Thank you to Lenny for doing this for the 4th time since we began it. We could not do it without you.
Do you have a list of the restricted items that you might be able to say right now, like no batteries, no air conditioners?
No, well, here's the thing. If you bring something with Freon, you have to pay for it.
Okay,
I believe it's $20. No batteries, no fluorescent light bulbs, no computers or any kind of technological equipment.
You did have fluorescent light bulbs on the schedule.
Then you have to pay for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay.
At $4 a piece. Is
Yeah,
that right?
they're very, the whole dump fee, everything has gone up.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's,
And our old dump is gone.
Hmm.
They've closed it down. So they've got to drive it to Greene County.
well,
Yeah, it's just a big,
right.
yeah.
And one other question on your statement there. Can planning's rec fees be used for well, the playground equipment?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Because there should be a balance, a significant balance, I would think, in
That
recreation
is the
fees.
purpose of the recreation fees.
Right,
Well, that'd be neat.
So check with Warren, but yeah, that's the whole purpose of the planning board.
right.
Okay.
Receive the recreation fees for those recreation improvements.
I don't know if we really spent much on.
Can the rec fees pay
How
for?
much is another account?
Okay,
How much is another account?
So much per lot. I don't have any idea what's in that account.
more than $90?
At least.
It gets drawn down
That's a level $90.
annually or just stays, rolls over,
I've been hoarding that money.
goes to the general fund. at the end of the year?
No, they have their own separate account.
Oh, interesting.
They should have.
All right. That. Oh, public comment. Is there any public comment other than all the public comments that we've had the opportunity to give tonight? All right, thank you. We'll start on department reports. Heather, highway?
I sent you all a bunch of information earlier this week that I hope you had a chance to look through. I just wanted to report to you that we finally finished up our blacktopping in the areas that are of concern for the winter stabilization. And that does include parts of the town garage parking lot. We will have to talk about that probably next year in terms of a chip sealing project, but I didn't want to get into any massive reconstruction until we hopefully have the drainage improvements done at the garage. Roadside mowing is underway for hopefully the last time this year. And with regards to our blacktopping, I've been in contact with the contractor that's supposed to be coming in to do Willowvale Road. And they're going to try and squeeze us in hopefully before the end of this month to get that done. So I'm crossing my fingers that everything works out with that. We're running out of time here in terms of the season. I just wanted to report that. There's some information that I provided to you with regards to my asking for the approval to purchase a broom for the new loader that we have. I believe that there is money available in a budget account. There are two budget accounts, funds 9710.6 and 9710.7 for a bond that was actually paid off previously. The cost for this piece of equipment, which I did want to get when we got the loader, but we didn't have enough funds available for chips, is $17,651. That includes the piece of the broom itself and for the transportation to HO Penn for them to plumb this piece of equipment or this attachment to our machine. What this will allow us to do is, right now we're using the sweeper attachment on our 2005 Toolcat, which, as I spoke at the budget workshop meeting, that piece of equipment gets a lot of use. We do use that at the end of the winter season a lot to sweep the roads. It is only a 6-foot broom, so the broom that would be mounted to the loader is an 8-foot broom, so it would be able to cover more territory. For the price, I think it's a great price, and I would ask for your approval in order to purchase that. There is a time, I think it was all included in the quote. There will be
October 1st.
there will be a price increase due to everything that's going on with the cost of materials, so I just wanted to put that out there as well.
Do you have the money?
I believe that there is money in
That's
that,
in
those
those
two
two
budget
lines.
lines that I.
There is sufficient funds, and we don't, that isn't going to have to be used for anything else.
No, the bond is.
Well, if we have the money in
Paid
the
it off.
bond, right? I would move if it would.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. I'll get in touch with them so we can get that order in before the price increase. The other thing that I wanted to report to you is the truck body. The auction did close last night in the amount of $680, so not as much as the first time. So
You got
So the
something
guy
back.
got his money back, right? Okay.
as long as that is, it's okay with you to accept the $680, we'll send this off to its new owner, or they will come pick it up. And then we can go about issuing the refund to the first purchaser only for the $680. So he is losing a little bit of money, but he'll be happy. I know he's appreciative of that. As long as that's okay with you.
That feels good. I think that's right.
Still think he should get stung a little bit.
Well, he is being stung. a
Oh,
little.
yes.
I don't think it's going to do that again.
Oh, no, right,
I mean, he's being stung about $300.
$200, right.
And 2 trips out. I think he was from Long Island, so he did make 2 trips.
Ooh,
That's-
that's
Yeah, that's
punishing.
beautiful.
That is punishing.
That's how you
Punishment
learn.
enough.
What's that?
That's how you learn.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Most people have done that more than one.
The
Every
other
little
thing that
bit.
I'd like to report, which is a bit of good news, I have hired a replacement HMEO. His name's Thomas Burns Jr. He will be starting with us on Monday, September 20th. He does bring 19 years of experience working within the highway field. So we'll welcome him aboard.
That's
That's a
great.
great one
That's
there.
amazing. TT.
How'd you get him from him? Yeah, TT.
TT.
That would be your increase in wages.
All right, all
Awesome.
right.
Like
Welcome
that's worth it.
aboard.
That's an experience, like he's been with Clinton or Sanfordville forever, right? What was it?
This was Clinton, he was with Stanford,
Front door,
and I think
stay
he was
open.
much, much younger. He was working with just now.
Yeah.
So
Lock it.
he does bring a lot of
Lock it open.
experience.
I don't know.
Awesome.
That
I would
is all that
imagine,
I have to
but-
report unless anyone has anything for me.
I have a question.
take a
for
chair
you
with
on
you
the
on that
budget,
one.
Just because I'm now writing the budget.
Okay.
Does the highway have to pay attention to the tax cap?
I think it's a part of the overall
That's
budget.
part of the overall equation.
Mhm.
Michael would have. handle on-
Well, I'll definitely ask him about that.
but my understanding is as it is.
Okay, because it would mean that would be eating up our it's 2% this year. So that's gonna be an issue,
Right.
because everything has gone up.
Mhm.
So I'm just warning you.
Yeah, I know there is the option to override the tax cap, and then there's also investigating the unexpended fund balance for
Yeah,
balance.
Lost payment.
we wanna definitely stay safe with our unexpended fund balance.
Right,
So,
well, as I
okay.
said, I kept everything
Made a
pretty,
difference.
except for
Threw it
salaries,
away.
everything is pretty
Okay,
unchanged.
He opened the
from
door, you
years
could only
before.
feel it.
No, but I.
yeah, that made me.
Mhm.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Heather? All right, Drew,
Thanks, Heather.
My report for August of this year, 17 building permits, and I caution you a little bit, my statistics are going to become a little skewed. This fishing condo project has started, so there's actually, I'm doing those as individual permits per housing unit, so the numbers are gonna go way up, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I've issued 10 permits there now, that's phase one. So by old school way of thought, we had 7 permits in the town last month. With the 17, it brings us up to a total of 59. There is a typo there. New home should be 12. 1 CO, 3 CO searches, 15 inspections. Pretty busy.
Drew, your numbers are like the only numbers that I like to see go up. So, you know, and I'm okay, yeah, yours are the good ones that go up. So if they keep going up, that's good for us.
how fast can those be going?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. They have big plans of getting things going, but so far it's not going very quick.
Okay. I like density. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
John, police report?
Michael, oh,
Okay, so monthly activity is as follows. Work, hours. Goal 145.5. Brief 2. Admin 17, investigations 12 hours. 6 hours in details, and vehicles, others is 24.5 for a total of 219 hours. Complaints yielded this month were 23 complaints. 1 EMS fire call, accidents 1, traffic warnings were 30 with 25 tickets issued. And as far as scheduling goes, there were 34 total cover scheduled shifts, with 29 of those shifts being actual scheduled shifts. 5 more shifts than scheduled.
And Stanfordville was very appreciative of you guys heading down there. So, yeah, just to let you guys know, they're very happy and thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Right, water department?
The Pine Plains Water Improvement Area report for September. Monthly average daily flow remains pretty consistent, 4,000 gallons per day. There have been 2 water meters that were rebuilt over the past month. Maintenance wise, both of the chlorinator pumps were clean and rebuilt. I did order that new chlorinator. Unfortunately, it's about twice the cost of the older ones. Unfortunately, the manufacturer doesn't make the older model anymore. So instead of being $700, it's now closer towards $1,400 for the unit itself. The telemetry system between the storage tank and the pump house has been calibrated to provide accurate volumes. We try to do that at least once a year. So that was completed. And annual maintenance up at the water tank was also done. So we're ready to take on the winter there. So pretty soon we'll be going ahead and putting the heat ons down in the telemetry kit, but I'll normally wait until October to do that. 10 utility markouts were performed over the past month. Most of those were actually within Stisson Farm, again, because they anticipate starting excavation for the building foundations and so forth. Water sampling, annual water samples for disinfection byproducts were received. Those both came in underneath the state and federal limits. Again, that's been pretty consistent. We've never had any issues with that, but it is required that we take 2 samples during the summer months for those disinfection byproducts. Good news is that we finally received the approval from Dutchess County Department of Health for reduced monitoring for PFOA and PFOS, along with dioxin out of the water supply. So previously that was required, that was a new requirement for 2021 that the state implemented. We needed to test quarterly, very expensive. We need to do a test out of each well. Each test was $1,000. The Department of Health has allowed us, because we took 3 sets within the first 3 quarters, each one of them indicating no detects whatsoever. They've allowed us to go to reduced monitoring, so we do not need to test until December 31st of 2022. So they're bringing us from a quarterly down to an annual. So that's very good news as far as from a cost saving standpoint. Third quarter meter readings will take place at the end of September. Water bills will be generated and sent out beginning of October. And then any accounts outstanding balance of September 30th will be re-levied with Dutchess County, just as we do every year. And then certification for 2019 annual water quality report that we put out every year and it's posted on the website. We are required to certify to both the Department of Health with Dutchess County as well as New York State that was sent out to all the users and placed in public places. So that certification went up to the state this past month as well. Supervisor, I just had one question. As of yet, I have not seen any correspondence from the Department of Health on the annual inspection.
I haven't gotten anything.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to check because that took place back in July. I would have expected that. I've seen something by now, so I'll just reach out to them and find out the status of that.
Okay.
Nothing was identified during the inspection, but like I said, I just wanted to double check on it.
Yeah.
So that's it for water, unless there's any questions from the board. Okay. On the engineering side, we had a bid opening for the drainage work at the highway department. There were several contractors that picked up, a total of 5 contractors that picked up packages. Unfortunately, we only had one bidder on the project. Arrow Construction, and their bid was over the budget significantly. So I would like to actually place that out for a rebid. Okay. I have reached out to 2 contractors that picked up bid packages, and they both indicated that they lost track of time, and that's why they didn't bid.
Well, that's better than disinterest.
Yes, exactly. So that's the reason that I would like to put it out to bid, and again, at least, maybe we get at least 2, and then hopefully be able to compare those.
So I repost that on Midnet?
Yes, I'll provide you the new information, just because I'll need to provide new updated dates.
Okay.
for the bid opening.
Do we have to reject that one bid, formally reject it?
Correct, yeah, so the only thing I would need to do for tonight is to have the board formally reject the single bid that was received from Arrow Construction, and then authorize me to place the project out for rebid.
I would make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And I've been in contact with the contractor for the other drainage work on, thank you. And I know we're waiting for the easement, but contractor has indicated that he's still interested, so we're just trying to get paperwork together with him. Once we have the easement, then they can do their clearing, which will be perfect as far as the bats are concerned and so forth, so we don't affect the bat habitat. And those were the only 2 items I had for engineering. Oh, I'm sorry, a third item. We are working on an updated construction cost for the proposed water line on Route 82, just to give the town board an update on that. Again, we've been working on several water projects, so we have some good numbers over the past year. So I'll update that, get to the town board, and then the town board can decide whether that's a project it wants to take on in 2022.
We have, just to remind you, that in the sweep account is their savings. So it's over 400,000 at this point, which would significantly pay
for a good portion of that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Great.
You're talking Merle Avenue down to the light?
That is correct, yeah. And actually, if at all possible, I'd like to see if we could make it down to Railroad as well.
Yeah.
Because there is the ability to cross over and to tap into the water line that heads down towards Stewart's. And that one has been affected by low flows because the lower portion is a 6-inch line, but where it's fed from is an actual old section of 4-inch between Myrtle and Railroad. So I'd like to see if I can extend it that far if that's possible. And that will.
I just didn't realize that. I thought it came
No.
from the old, the main line came right down Myrtle, I thought.
I'm sorry, it does, correct.
But there is still
that
is a piece,
southerly
right.
portion, unfortunately, like I said, between Myrtle and Railroad, there's still a 4-inch section that that actually feeds that southerly area. But all the valves are in place, actually right in front of the house that Dale Mitchell is currently working on. along right at the corner of Pilch and 82.
Mhm.
There's a cluster of valves there with an 8-inch or, yes, an 8-inch line that allows it to come across to Railroad. And then we can go up to Lake Road, because there's a 10-inch there if we needed to.
And anything, so Ray and I met with Rich Tamburino down at the ball field to talk about dugouts and the lights, because we've been talking about this forever. And the contractors, in order to get a price for the dugouts, are looking for engineered plans. Nobody wants to touch anything or do anything without engineered plans. So we were working, Ray's gonna get back to us just to let you guys know.
Yeah, so from a timing standpoint,
I just wanted to put it out there
yeah, no,
for these guys
absolutely.
too.
So yeah, we'll get to putting those together. It's just taking us a little bit of time based on other workload.
We have somebody who's willing to pay for the dugouts, not us, a private sponsor. But, you know, so when we have that, you might as well try to strike
Okay.
while the iron's hot, you know, like, cause,
Yeah, that was my next question.
you know, we,
The banner money was supposed to go for that, remember?
no, the banner money was supposed to go for lights.
Oh,
original.
Initially,
Oh.
the banner money was supposed to go for anything field related. When we initially tried to do the dugouts, the money raised wasn't enough. And I know for a fact those plans are not engineer designed.
Yeah, so
So like
the contractors
we
that
were
were
trying to
reached
do
out
what we could with that. And so the banner money does contribute to that, but as you're talking about, and I was gonna talk about as well.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I just wanted to, when it was still talking, I just wanted to, you know, bring it up.
Yeah, and so we, so towards the lights, so our office did take a look at the question that came up during our site visit as far as requirements for Little League and whether there are standards for that, and there are. They actually have standards regardless of whether it's tournament play or not. So for it to be an official Little League softball or Little League baseball field under lights, the Little League has a set of standards that need to be met. Which
I was just gonna say that bumped that price right up a little bit.
Do we need it to be an
The
official
only
Little League?
caveat to that is we don't necessarily need official Little League, because what we can then do is our official Little League games would take place during the day. And then any other groups that practice on that same size field that aren't necessarily Little League affiliated would be able to practice at night. I know.
I imagine it has to do with safety though.
To an extent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, is like a practice task is different than the intensity of gameplay. So.
Well, then, yeah, because the discussion that we had, unless maybe Rec and Little League need to get together, because what I got out of the discussion was that Little
You
League
got, yeah,
really
talk to
look
Rich.
forward to the potential of doing tournaments.
Yeah,
Um,
well, the issue for
so-
Little League, which is a different can of worms, is they have not given us the baseball chart. So we would be able to for softball, but we wouldn't be able for baseball. And so we're actually pursuing Cal Ripken baseball because of that lack of chart. So we can have the talks about that. Obviously, if we can get it Little League standard, then that's perfect. But at the same time, there are other programs that we do where like we run out of time, and having lights down there doubles essentially the amount of fields you have.
Yeah.
And, you know, we don't necessarily need the Little League quality lights to do our night activities like the ice skate or other things that we would do there.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
really, it's just the town coming up with what standard it wants to meet. Because obviously, in order to meet those Little League standards, the price does go up dramatically.
And
Because
those,
it has to do with not only the intensity, but also ratio, making sure there are no
Blind
low
spots,
level,
yeah.
blind spots or low level light versus bright areas of light, as well as the angles as well. Which means the poles need to be taller, and therefore tall poles means more light.
Yeah.
But we're working with Musco right now just to get a budgetary number together. As soon as I get that, I'll forward that onto the board, and that'll help the board make its decision.
you'd have both options there? Or just the tournament play option?
I think the tournament play option is a good one to pursue because currently members of my rec committee are working on grants for the lights as well.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so that would be
Those
the higher
members are the
standard.
ones who helped with the one for the playground.
That's great.
Fingers crossed.
So I hope to get those budget numbers within the next few weeks.
Thank you.
Reached out to them already.
All right. that segues right into recreation, so.
Cool, so I have a couple things. Simple one is the high school outdoor education class. It's a phys ed credit. Was wondering if we'd be able to use the rec facilities for our fishing lesson. We've done it once in the past before COVID. Now that we're back in school, we'd like to do that again, contingent upon them issuing us their certificate of insurance. The planned dates for that would be September 28th with a rain date of September 29th. So I figured I'd just ask you guys now, contingent upon that, if we can approve that field trip. It would be a walking one from the high school to there and then up the mountain and back.
And I make a motion that we approve the field trip for the fish.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Cool.
Right.
Les Funk appreciates that one.
That's a great program. I love that.
The other stuff I have would be, I know we're talking budget numbers. The camp budget, we were just over $5,000 in terms of salary for camp staff, which Jen told me is kind of indicative of the increased cost of staff, minimum wages going up.
Right.
There was also a significant amount of money spent on bus transportation. So just an idea number that I have out there would be towards the budget, increase that salary by 5,000, and then also the contractual expense by 5,000. However, I had talked with Jen and she had said like the trips were too much,
Yeah.
which I agree with. And I think if we have more staff, we can facilitate more activities there. So I'm not going to speak for her entirely, but after looking at the numbers and seeing what the program was, that's my initial thought. She said she's going to be at the next meeting and be able to present you guys like a more in-depth breakdown of what was going on and the activities they did.
Okay, but the preliminary budget has to be delivered next board meeting.
Yes, but I'm telling
Okay.
you ahead of time
Okay.
that those two line items I'm going to be asking
Okay.
for
Alright.
a 5,000 increase.
Okay,
Also, I was hoping to ask for a new line item for special projects that would kind of cover stuff like dugouts, field stuff, because we'd like to remove the backstops, create that level space that we already have. So that one backstop in the outfield of the softball field, we remove that, we have enough room for a full-size soccer pitch. And so I was thinking of coming up with a special project fund for a total of 20K. And that's obviously 20,000 more added to my budget. But with our plans for fundraising and the activities of my committee that we have behind in terms of doing fundraising and the other activities, having that flexibility would be huge because we'd also like to be able to purchase possibly, once that field is done, regulation size soccer goals, which are 2,500 apiece. And then also in that fund, we could discuss stipends. So if somebody comes down, let's say a former rec employee in the summertime, comes and works and helps with the ice rink or other events that we have, maybe running the concession stand, we can give them a stipend and then versus hiring them as a salary thing. So I was looking at the 20K number because I have found in my past few years that's like stuff is not cheap. In terms of lights, we kind of touched on it there. Members of my committee are working on grants for the lights and getting quotes. I wasn't in the discussions with this, but I know Rich Tamburino's been pushing really hard for the lights. Jen Blackburn's working really hard on the grant side of it. And some of the fundraisers we hope to do for the playground will also be fundraising for the lights. In terms of the playground, like we're all aware, we have the grant of $70,000. Like Councilman Bartles brought up, there is the rec association fees or whatever when they do that. Other towns use their mortgage tax, like revenue they bring in from that to pay for special projects like that, if that's an avenue to look at. I'm not an expert on those, but I do know it's been 30 years since we last built a playground. And this is probably the first time we have $70,000 in money allocated for that. And so ultimately, I think if we can find the money to do that, the town should definitely jump on that and take advantage of it because it's worth it. And we plan on fundraising that money. So even though we would spend the money next year after the fundraising, that would be income towards your guys' general fund. Now, I don't know the exact terms or how it all goes, but we
Yeah,
plan on doing.
I have
A
to check
lot
with the
of
accountant
fundraisers
on how to
for
do that and what this really means.
Yep, and so ideas for fundraisers that our rec committee is currently working on is a fundraiser barbecue at a rec facility, and then as well as a fundraising gala, either using a couple local business venues and doing that. So we'll get a good mix of everybody contributes, as well as people who, you know, need to write off on a big expense. They can go to that and do that.
You have to check on that because I don't think you can, you know, do you have to send that money through a 501c3 like we had to do with the community center and things
Okay.
like that? I mean, there's.
I have
yeah.
to talk to Michael about all
Like
this.
that, right.
fundraising stuff, Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, like Warren said, the town needs to have the money appropriated for it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so I mean,
Well,
I'm just telling you that.
We have
my
to have the
plan-
money.
Yeah, well, you also said we're close to the 2% tax cap. Where, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, right. So
That's gonna be an issue.
and, you know, there are some other departments that are going to have to be looked at again.
Everybody
also.
needs more, yeah.
Right.
And just like I'm saying is like, I mean, 70,000 doesn't just walk in the room on something we haven't touched in 30 years. In addition to that, like I said, ideas for fundraising privately, we're looking at doing a donor wall. So people who donate would be on a donor wall that would be present at that park facility as well. Possibly donor benches, different events like that. So we have several fundraising ideas in place that we'd like to capitalize on. Another grant we got money for was about $7,000, just over that, for adaptive wheelchairs. Each wheelchair is about 10 grand. So that will really cover the cost of one. If that's all that we can do this year, I can still do a lot with that program. The other thing is after doing a bunch of different things, I should have money left over in terms of my budget and how I spend it. I would have enough money to potentially purchase that second one in whole at the end if I plan out, you know, appropriately what I would need to have at the end. Also, we now know that the Ag Fair is happening, and in addition to being able to pay for those chairs, I just asked or reached out to Rich Brennis about possibly doing fireworks, if that's something we would want to do again. I know we did in years past, the same night as the Ag Fair. So I was just gonna put out feelers for that.
There's also gonna be a square dance at the Stissing Center that night.
Yep, and if I remember correctly from the last time, people at Tower and everything could see the fireworks show from there because it was right in the center of town. So, and I was coordinating that with Miss Rhodes because she runs the ag program and is in contact with them about the square dance because that benefits FFA. And so that was just something I was throwing out there too.
That takes a big chunk out of all the other things though that you wanna do.
Well, I would have enough in my budget to spend the $5 grand on that. $5 grand for additional sand and nets. And then I would have still left over about 15 grand to facilitate the purchase of the 2 wheelchairs.
Okay,
I know I've kind of handed the soup sandwich.
Yeah, you did.
but-
Yeah, it's kind of last minute too.
I'm kinda like, well,
Yeah.
that's an awful lot of money we're talking about, and I don't know where
You
to.
know, it's.
I mean,
you
even
need
that
it.
15 grand could go towards the playground, which, you know, and
Yeah,
then you
no,
get your
you know,
wheelchairs,
it
like,
went under- it
you're
went
getting
under
one
100%,
now,
but we
you
just
know?
get one and then do that.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure
That's
the
Because if
technology.
if time is of the essence to get this on sale, you know,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah, I mean, I think the best option is for us to figure out what we have available in terms of funds like that rec item.
Yeah.
That has been collecting probably ever since it was passed. For a rec project like this, because really, I mean, my main goal is the playground. I mean, that, like I said, it's been 30 years. We've got almost half of it, you know, taken care of. And if we can get that done, that's something that's gonna last for another 30 years. So, But I was just letting you know that I've got my eye on a bunch of different things, so whatever you guys end up deciding, then I can go in any direction with that, and
Okay,
I think we're in a good spot in terms of recreation.
maybe we could talk about this in executive session. In terms of expenditure.
Well,
I would like for Sarah to be here.
yeah, and I also would like to have the numbers in front
Yeah, I
of me.
know.
I mean,
Feeling-
I can't do anything without.
Well, in terms of fireworks. Wouldn't we have to decide the fireworks now?
So
Right.
my plan is the 5K, like I said, and I have it in the budget, but that would also be contingent upon if the person who typically puts them on for us is able to. Because in years past, he would do it for free and all the money went directly for the cost of the fireworks. But this year I know there are, supply shortages and stuff like that. So.
No, if we could pay for it without any new money having to go over there, or we're not taking away from something else that is already committed.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. I mean, that's what the budget is, but I mean, as long as there's not any new money. as I
Yeah,
said.
no. So I'm not asking for next year.
But the question is whether or not that's the best place to spend the money.
Well, right, because
Right.
they're over on the bus and over on the,
So
Salaries.
my overall budget right now, if you were to just blend all the line items outside of like my salary and the other salary, right now, they'll still be over like for $30,000. And so I'm saying like.
You'll be over, or you'll
No,
have
like
30
I
left?
have 30,000
Thousand left for.
So, and then.
you're not counting your revenue, right? Don't count.
No
your
revenue,
Okay.
no
okay.
revenue. So I honestly don't even know how much we bring in. As soon as I collect the food programs, I just throw it in here
Okay,
Right, but
and do
you
that.
know,
So-
are we down on revenues, anticipated
no, we're
revenues
up,
on the rec side?
yeah.
And I know also, like, I know some money came in from the track program, but I also have about $1,000 in registration that I'm gonna turn in tomorrow.
Okay.
So like, our programs are bringing in money because I'm trying to make them run at no cost. It's just that the infrastructure stuff obviously has a cost initially.
All right,
So,
so,
I mean, I can also do a workshop meeting if we want,
Well-
whenever you
But
guys are
you-
available, but I know you got a lot of projects happening. So.
But I mean, if you're gonna do fireworks for the ag fair, that's
we have to
what,
decide.
3 weeks away,
Yeah.
4 weeks, at
Yeah.
most 4.
Yeah, so I would like permission to spend $5,000 on fireworks.
Does that take any
Additional.
special liabilities or anything like that?
I think I would have to talk to Drew about some permit stuff,
Mhm.
I think in the past, and then also.
I was just talking to
The
Rich
fire
on this
chief in
about it,
terms
yeah.
of that. I don't know, if that could happen right now. Yeah, well, and I know it's last minute, I just
Yeah.
figured now that it is actually happening. Even though it's last minute, I figured it's better than something that had time to that.
What did we spend last time?
5,000.
It was 5?
Yeah.
That was a heck of a show.
I mean,
And-
I'll make a
yeah.
motion that we approve $5,000 for fireworks for Ag Fair. I'll make it.
I'll second your motion.
All right, well, all in favor?
Aye.
Well,
Aye.
I mean, if the money's there,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fine. That's what it's there for. But as I say, just don't be taking it away from something else that would be better spent at.
Yeah, so this year, a lot of our costs in terms of umpires and other programs just weren't there because, to be honest, like, we didn't get a sanctioned little league charter, and that $5,000 is what umpires cost.
Oh, okay,
You know what I mean, for the
All right.
season, so I'm still gonna be able to do everything else.
all right, well, thanks, Michael.
While we're on the subject of the budget, if you could hold a torch lit maybe for the notion of that minor annual maintenance that we are permitted to do on the beach lawn. But at some point, we might want to start bringing in and filling some of those onerous little spots as long as it's maintenance and not the opposite, which is a large scale earth moving, I think.
Yeah, so any little wet spots, just leveling out, looking at it.
But even with a long view plan of looking to subtly maybe bring up the base
Yeah.
over a
Well, that's. part of
20-year
that
period.
comprehensive rec plan I was working on, looking at that little
Right.
idea and just giving you guys options to look at.
and even a little berm there at the edge of the parking lot would stop all the water from the hillside going into the lawn too and divert it into the drainage ditch, which is just right there, another 40 feet away or something. How do we do that project?
Is the old playground go away?
No, the old playground can stay where it is.
Okay, well, that's,
The big issue with it right now is due to water and that
Yeah,
kind of
it's a
stuff.
wet spot.
It's always underwater and
yeah,
people
right.
don't want to have to.
That's why I
swim
was
to that
wondering if you were
playground.
moving it or not.
It might float away.
Well, it's.
Well, I mean, should we take it down and
It's
have
stood
a
for
bigger
30
open
years.
space there?
So I don't think we would
Not
want
right.
to even consider taking it down until we had another one.
Well, yeah,
But
like
in the future,
future,
I mean, if you take that down, and like I talked about in our one workshop meeting, if we look long-term, because the cost of people go up, if we're looking at doing a pool and you're having the pool in that general facility there, then that area might be where you relocate the volleyball court because the pool would be in a different spot. So, I mean, it'll honestly be up to you guys once we would get to that point.
and Heather, would you be willing to help Mike rip out those old backstops? That he's talking about like that, because I think you can get the loader on and put a chain on it, just rip up and they'll be out instead of like, you know.
Yeah, we can help with that.
Awesome. So we'll do
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I'm gonna do the dog control report and, basically, I saw Rich this evening. He said it's really quiet. He had one call and, that was it. And the dangerous dog cases are complete. The only thing I have for new business is the, retirement. We have to put Madeline into the retirement system. So all I need is a motion to,
I make a motion that
amend
Madeline,
our retirement documents.
I make a motion that we amend our retirement document to add Madeline Chase.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I believe that is everything. I would like to go into executive session briefly for a discussion on a salary issue and a legal issue.
Make a motion that we go into executive session to
Second.
discuss salary and a personnel issue.
All right, all in favor?
Aye. Are we making a decision?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Madeline.
That's all right.
Judy knows I try to get you out of here. I do my best. I do my best. Yeah, so it's like the old, you know.
I want to just go in my, yeah.
I could just go in my office.
There's only